Odell Beckham Jr., a guy that most people probably would have thought was already washed. Some people probably thought maybe his career is officially over. Maybe there are times where they probably think that some people are thinking, well, if he's not signing with someone else this year, he maybe just might as well just retire and say, I'm done for the day. That's what he probably could do. However, Odell Beckham Jr. is very determined on keeping himself in the NFL and to make himself irrelevant again. So if you all remember, in the 2021 season, 2021-22 season, Odell Beckham Jr. was traded away from Cleveland to go to the Rams, and he won a Super Bowl for the very first time in his career with Matthew Stafford as quarterback and Sean McVay as the head coach. So Odell Beckham Jr. now, after getting released from the Rams early last year after that Super Bowl win, and because he was on a ACL surgery, he couldn't really play football this past year. Like he couldn't get himself back on the team. He couldn't really resign or anything like that because of the injury really hindered him. So he needed a long time to get himself back together. But now, as of yesterday on Easter Sunday, happy belated Easter to everybody, by the way, and congratulations to Ravens fans. You are now in the Odell Beckham sweepstakes where you are giving him a $15 million guarantee 1 year contract, and he is getting paid for the full $18 million for 1 year, which I think is going to say a lot about the offense and the future of the Ravens, and also does put a lot of question in terms of Lamar Jackson's future. So, with all that being said, what do I think about this? What do you guys think about this signing for the Ravens? Do we think Lamar Jackson's returning to Baltimore now that he has himself a legitimate wide receiver at the helm? Are the Ravens going to be able to make that $18 million contract worth it for Odell Beckham Jr. and for this team? And how much of a competitor does this make the Ravens, not only in their division, but in the AFC side of things as well? We're going to talk more about that, but before we dive any deeper, let's make sure that we do the following. Please be sure to drop a like on this video if you have not done so already, and drop a comment down below if you're able to. Guys, I know I say this all the time, but I'm going to keep saying it until I don't know when. But, I love you guys so much. I really love covering football. I really enjoy being able to talk football with you guys, and, I want to make it interesting for you guys. I want to make it interesting for you guys, and I want to make sure that you guys are entertained and being able to, listen to the content that is being covered here on this channel. At least reasonable, opinionated, and try to state the facts at least too. And I feel like JP Football Fanatics is definitely getting to that point now where we are trying to build and grow as as a channel and for you guys as well. So please do me the favor, drop a like, leave a comment down below. And just tell me what kind of content you want me to cover if I have not done so already yet for you guys to satisfy your needs. And if you're able to, too, if you can hit that subscribe button down below, too, when you're watching this video, you hit the subscribe button. When you hit that subscribe button, it not only helps me out, but it helps the channel grow. And the more subscribers I have, the more followers I have for this YouTube page, the more successful this page is going to be. And I think that's exactly where I want this channel to be at this point in time. So please do me all the favor in the world. Please like, comment, subscribe, and that's where we'll go with that. And you're going to help the channel grow. So you're not just helping me, and you're not just helping yourselves. You're helping the channel grow to help make sure that my voice gets heard out there in terms of NFL content. So let's get started. Before I really get down into the deep ends of things, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in for tonight. I hope everybody had a nice Easter. And for those of you young bucks who are, middle school, high school, college students, I hope you enjoyed your break your little break as well. I know some schools have at least a week off. I work in a school, so I will be going back to work tomorrow morning. So that's where I'm at with that. But I enjoyed my holiday, and I hope you guys did too. And hopefully, if you're a Ravens fan, this helped you cheer up your Easter a little bit, made it a little bit more spicy and exciting. All right, so let's get down to business and let's talk about this. So Odell Beckham Jr. signs with the Baltimore Ravens. He gets a 1-year, $15 million guaranteed contract, and the deal is going to be worth up to $18 million, which is probably very likely going to be happening. If he's getting $15 million guaranteed, very likely he's going to be getting up to at least $18 million. So, what do I think about this? How does this help the Ravens out? So let's talk about Lamar Jackson. So I did a podcast last week about Lamar Jackson. I believe it was sometime last week. I can't remember. Sometimes I mix in my days and everything. But I did do a live stream last week, a podcast on Lamar Jackson last week, and was talking more about his top 5 landings of where I think if Baltimore decides to trade up for Lamar Jackson. I gave you like the top 5 teams that I think would be best fit for him and where Baltimore should really look into if they're not willing to comply and help him out in terms of the passing game. So now that we know that there's a receiver at the helm with Odell Beckham Jr., how does this help the offense out? Well, I mean, it's going to help the offense and Lamar Jackson if Lamar Jackson decides to stay. It's definitely going to put a big separation between Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay, who Devin Duvernay really isn't like a legitimate wide receiver. Like, he's a good route runner, and he's a good return man for this team, but he's not the kind of person that I would be relying on in terms of going for a deep threat like Odell. So last year, the Ravens were looking for players that could be were looking for like a deep threat down the field. So last year, the Ravens were able to sign Deshaun Jackson for a 1-year deal. And obviously, Deshaun Jackson at 36 years old, he's older now. He's not anywhere near his prime that he used to be. Was a nice deep threat during his time with the Eagles, but at the same time, 36 years old now, and he's, getting older. He can't really he could still probably play a little bit, but he's not, to me, he's not like a top target in the league anymore, if that makes any sense. So I think moving off from Deshaun Jackson was something that the Ravens needed to do because they need to pick up more help for Lamar. So they were able to get Nelson Aguilar, which isn't the greatest wide receiver out there, but he's someone that can be serviceable. He probably can help in the slot receiver end of things. Like, he can work well in the slot and be a nice short route runner for the team. So I don't think that part of it was too bad for getting Nelson Aguilar. So I don't really trash them for doing that. But they definitely needed something a lot more bigger, something better, something that's going to help push the ball down the field. And that's something that Lamar has really needed for a while, besides, his top target and Mark Andrews, who's a phenomenal tight end in his own right. And, he's going to be the guy that's going to be one of the top targets going into next season if Lamar decides to stay. But they now have a wide-out receiver that's going to work out well for them. And Odell Beckham Jr. is the man that I personally think is, I think he can push the ball down the field. I think he's a nice deep threat when he is not triple covered and he's not double covered and he's playing man on man. This is definitely the best receiver for that thing in this league, because I feel like when you throw the ball to Odell, you get that time and you throw it to him and you're an elite, or at least the next tier quarterback to be an elite, and if you can get Lamar the ball right out of your hands before you get yourself hurt and hit, Odell Beckham is the guy to kind of really rely on and be able to get a deep threat in there. Like, I think the thing about Odell that I always liked about him when he played for the Giants is that Odell can play in any good situation in football. So if he was playing in situational football where he had to play, if he has to throw the ball, he's going to be successful doing it. If he has to play in the screen pass role, I think that's also something that he can benefit from. I think he can work well in the screen pass. If he needs to be just a slot, if he needs to work inside the slot, I think he does well within the slot field of things. And if he needs to be wide out and he needs to be a deep threat down the field for quarterbacks to throw to, he's going to do you that too. Like, Odell is a systemless quarterback, which is in the same exact words as Mitch from the Bottom Line View said it. He's a systemless quarterback, meaning that no matter what offense you put him in, he's going to excel and he's going to do well in. If you're an offensive team, if you're a passing team, he's going to work well with you. So my opinions on Odell personally off the field, has had some problems in the past. So these are where some of my biggest question marks come as far as Odell, and a lot of it is going to come out off the field. Okay, so first things first, we know Odell is at the age of 30 now. So Odell is getting older. He's getting older, meaning now after some of his injuries that he's had in years past with both the Giants, the Browns, and then the last one he had with the ACL tear in Los Angeles. Those are some things that do question me about his health, and that kind of does fear for me as far as like if he is out, who's the next man up? Like, is Nelson Aguilar going to step up to be that deep threat guy? Is it going to be Rashad Bateman? Is Mark Andrews going to need to play more on the offensive line and kind of make more of the blocks, or is he going to be going back into being both working on as a blocker and working more in the passing game? So, like, if Odell is out with any sort of injury and Lamar is down to throwing to any of the next three up, chances are for their offense to not really do as well. It's very well possible. Like, Mark Andrews is a good tight end. Don't get me wrong. He is at least a top 3 tight end in this league. He's probably just behind George Kittle, and he's definitely behind Travis Kelce too. So I think he's definitely a top 3 tight end too. But you also need him to kind of make those plays on the offensive line, so that way he can play like a blocking type. Like, he can definitely catch the ball in any given situation. If you have to throw the ball and push it down the field, like, Mark Andrews is reliable for that. But Odell's health definitely does put a lot of question for me. Is he going to be healthy enough to, really sustain the offense and make them relevant, at least in most of their games? And is he going to help them win these type of games? Like, I like, we all want to think that he can. I think he still can. I think he can still play in this league. I think when he played for, the Giants, he was phenomenal. He was in his prime. He came out of the 2014 draft, and he was phenomenal then for the Giants. And then when he got traded to Cleveland, it just didn't work out very well in terms of not only with the behavior that was going on off the field in the locker room talk and everything, but a lot of the controversies that was going on between, like, getting him and wasting his career away as far as not getting him the ball in time, which was a lot of the controversy. And then you go on and then you trade him away to the Rams, which he seemed to really work much, much, much better in, and they used him much more efficiently to kind of separate away from Cooper Kupp a little bit, because knowing Van Jefferson, who knows really what kind of game he's going to have, and, with the run game that was kind of non-existent at the time too, you need to have another reliable target in there. So injuries do hinder over Odell. So that's definitely one of the questions I do have for Odell. But another question I do have, and I think a lot of people are going to have for Odell, is he over the locker room drama? Meaning, like, is he done with the drama? Is he not? Is he going to take accountability for his actions? Is he going to be the guy that's going to not blame everybody else in the locker room but himself? Like, is he a stand-up guy now at this point where, like, after a Super Bowl win that he got with the Rams, like, has he humbled down now? Is he much more calmer? Is he much more satisfied now that he has a Super Bowl ring? Or does he want more? Like, does he want to get more? Obviously, he probably does want to get a lot more, and that's probably why he wanted to go with the Ravens. But that locker room drama was basically the reason why the Giants had to get rid of him in the first place. And whether or not the Cleveland Browns used him or not, there was definitely drama going on in there too. And a lot of that was mostly probably more with his dad, if anything, making I believe it was like a Twitter video that kind of came out on Twitter around that time frame before he was traded to the Rams. And it was mostly about his playing time and how the quarterback and the coaches weren't allowing him to get the ball enough. And then going to the Rams, being successful there, being a nice target for Matthew Stafford. And then you go in there and you score a touchdown, the first touchdown of the game in the Super Bowl. Like, with all these different factors, and probably I would say at the very least, these adversities that he went through, like, is he humbled out now? I think is mostly the other thing. Is he humbled out now? According to sources, according to other teammates that he's played with before, it seems like he's much more content now. I mean, he might want to continue to play a lot more because there has been rumors and different sources that have said that he was looking for a team that was going to be willing to pay him for more than what he was being offered with. Like, I believe before this contract came up with the Ravens, I believe like other teams were probably going to shop for him and probably guarantee get him a contract for 1 year for at least like $6 million, and Odell was not really looking for that. Like, that was not something Odell wanted for himself. Instead, he thought he was worth a lot more than $6 million. Now, granted, a lot of people do have a lot of questions about the contract, and I guess in a way, that's kind of another question that I do have about the contract deal. Like, a lot of people complain about Juju being signed for, I believe it was like $9 million for 1 year with the Patriots. There was another couple other wide receivers that were getting paid for far too much money than what a 1 year contract normally would deal with. So for the Ravens to sign $18 million is pretty bold. Let's be honest there. That was a pretty bold move for them to do. But I think the Ravens, and my thought process as to why the Ravens did do it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who watch my videos probably would agree with me on this. A lot of the time, I feel like the Ravens wanted to do this because they wanted to keep Lamar Jackson. Like, I don't like Baltimore without Lamar Jackson is completely irrelevant. Like, if Lamar Jackson is not on this team, if he's not on the depth chart, chances are for this team to go anywhere next year, and even during the middle of the season when he does get hurt, like the last 2 years at the end of those two particular seasons, the team collapse without Lamar Jackson. Like, that's just a straight up fact. You can't even deny that. And with Lamar and his not controversy, but in terms of like his contract, he wants to get a contract that's worth a lot more than what he's getting paid for. Like, he wants to get paid $45 million, probably even close to $50 million in terms of like, his year extensions. Like, I understand that he definitely wants to get paid a lot more. I think he deserves to get paid a lot more. But a lot of the factor is the team hasn't really helped him out a lot. So, I mean, the last 2 seasons definitely hurts him because he was injured at the end of the season, and that ruined their chances of going anywhere further. Like, if Lamar was playing at the end of those 2 seasons, one of those years they just missed the playoffs on the last game of the season. They probably they could have won a lot more games, and they probably would have made it to the playoffs, and probably would have made it, maybe at the very least, probably the divisional round. Last year was tough because them and the Bengals were kind of neck and neck pretty much throughout the entire year. And that was kind of tough too when you have to go up against the Bengals and play them, especially if you have to play them in the wild card in Cincinnati. Like, that is a tough go right there. So even with Lamar in that game, they probably don't win the Cincinnati game. However, with all the other games that they did lose without Lamar is, definitely hurt them a lot. So that definitely hurt them in terms of getting a higher seed to kind of avoid the Bengals and maybe be able to like find their way to beat like a better team, maybe a team that's a little bit more up to their speed than like the Bengals. So that's a lot of the reason. They definitely want to keep Lamar. They want to keep him relevant. They want to stay relevant, and they know that the team does have too much talent to pass up. Like, there is a lot of talent on this team that I don't think is talked about enough because of the end of those 2 seasons that just hinders them. Like, if they didn't lose Lamar Jackson, like I said, they could be going deeper and deeper each and every year. But the problem is, though, when you have Lamar and you're not giving him the chance to throw the football to anybody besides Mark Andrews, and your receivers are always banged up. You have both J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards that are always being banged up every single game. And it's like alternating. Like one week the running back is hurt and not playing, and then the other week the one running back is playing. Like, there's not a lot of in depth. If that makes a lot of sense, there's not a lot of depth on this team. There's talent. The talent is there, but the depth is definitely not there. So that's why I kind of fear for Lamar and fear for this team if Odell does not stay healthy, chances are their team could collapse just like they did last year without Lamar at the end of those last two seasons. And that's very well possible. But we're looking at it right now in terms of Odell's going to play at least a full 18-week season. We're assuming he's number one unless they decide to draft a wide receiver. I doubt it. But I think they should draft a wide receiver. Like, assuming they don't draft one, Odell is easily your number one receiver. Like, you're going to make Nelson Aguilar one. You're going to make Rashad Bateman one. Or you're going to even make, like, the Devin Duvernay one. Like, at this point now, Odell should be considered your number one receiver for this team. And I think that that's exactly where they're looking at this time. So, a lot of questions. I don't think it's a bad deal whatsoever. I think 18 million is a lot of money. I really do think so. Not that I'm thinking that this was a bad sign in terms of Odell, but I think 18 million is a lot of money for a guy that's older. He's not really the most reliable in terms of his health anymore. Like, that's why there's 1-year contracts. And I think they really should have really thought about that before giving him that much money. So we'll see how it works out. I hope it works out for Lamar's sake. I think it definitely will improve the passing game. It's going to improve the deep threat down the field. Like, I think Odell is going to be the guy that's going to help Lamar push this ball down the field to where they need it to go. I think he's a top target that you should be looking at for the end zone. He could definitely be a top target for in the end zone for touchdowns and like fantasy football, if we want to talk about fantasy football. And he's also he's also the kind of guy that's going to help you get to where you want to be. Like, he's played in different offenses in his career, with several times with the Giants under Tom Coughlin, Ben McAdoo, and Pat Shurmur. Then he goes to Freddie Kitchens, who was awful as a head coach for the Browns when he was the head coach for that 1 year. Then you go to Kevin Stefanski, didn't do much there for him. Then he goes to work with an offensive genius of Sean McVay. And then you're going here to a team that's mostly run heavy, but knowing that Lamar could be leaving, you go ahead and you get a top gun in your wideout position. Like, it's like it is something that needed to be done. But I think they also could have done a lot more with this contract. Like, obviously 1 year is good, but I think they should have definitely reduced the amount of money that they were going to pay him in case it did not work out. So it is what it is. It is only a 1-year deal. We'll see how it works out. And if they don't like it, they could try to move off from him during the middle of the season, or they could release him to save some cap space in there, or vice versa. Whatever they decide they want to do with Odell is really entirely up to them. But I think you need to give him a shot. You need to see where he stands with this offense. You need to know how he's going to respond with Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh and company. I think it's a good fit. I think this is a nice fit for Lamar. I'm happy that he's able to get a seemingly what we hope is a potential number one receiver for your team. I hope. But it's also a franchise that's not willing to let go Lamar yet. So that's what I think about this. Good signing. Too much money for $18 million. I think that's way too much. But it's only a 1-year deal. We're going to see how it works out, and I'm hoping it does work out. Like, I really do hope this works out for Lamar. I hope it works out for the franchise, and this definitely could definitely make them much more competitive now when they go into the season. Like, the AFC North is one of the toughest divisions in the NFL, with the Bengals, who are probably going to still win this division. They're still up on a lot of teams. Like, I don't see many teams beating the Bengals this year. The Steelers you're kind of neck and neck with. The Browns you're probably kind of neck and neck with. And, you're pretty much right there. Like, you could be fighting for a playoff spot this season. And I think the Ravens are a playoff team. Like, I really do think they're a playoff team. And I think Odell definitely keeps them in that field. So, what do you guys think about Odell Beckham Jr.? What do you guys think? Do you like this signing? Do you think the Ravens should have gone a different route? Do you think the contract is good enough for them to go ahead and bank on? Or do you think they should have tried to negotiate something that could have been a little bit less than what he was asking for and just kind of see how it goes? Let me know in the comments down below. Before we kind of sign off, everybody, please do me the favor. Please be sure to drop a like on this video and leave a comment down below. I tell you guys all the time, I know I'm looking for new content all the time, guys. I mean, I'm doing a lot of it right now because I know there's a lot of important NFL news out there right now that you want me to cover for you all. And sometimes it's hard, and I have a busy life, and sometimes it's hard for me to be able to research all of that in time. And I need your guys' help. What do you think I should cover? What do you think is the most relevant for me? What's going to work out best for me to help you guys out with listening to football? And not only listening to these football podcasts, but trying to make the channel grow to be bigger and better than what it is already. That's why I do this all the time. So if you can please just do me the favor, drop a like, leave a comment down below. Let me know the content, and I will definitely try to cover and do the research on it. So that way I will have something to talk about when that time does come. And if you've not done so already, guys, if you have not done so already, I said it before, I said it, I'll say it again. If you have not done so already, you see the subscribe button down below. Please hit that subscribe button because that's going to help this channel grow. Not just for me, not just for you, but it's helping the football, the talk of football continue to grow. And what other opinions would you want to listen to than me? Let's just be honest. Like, sometimes news media is like, like a Colin Cowherd, and sometimes Stephen A. Smith. Sometimes they all can be very biased towards particular teams. I try to be as unbiased as possible. That's why I do this podcast. That's why I want to talk with you guys about what you think I should be doing better and differently. So like, comment, subscribe, help this channel out. You're not just doing it for me. You're not doing this just for yourselves, but you're helping the channel grow. And you're helping other football fanatics find another podcaster to listen to in me. So with all that being said, everybody, thanks again for tuning in. Always means a lot. This is your boy, JP Football Fanatics, saying peace.